Welcome to Entrepreneurial Minds. It's an experience that serves as the greatest teacher. This podcast attempts to leverage the knowledge, insights, and most importantly, the experience of the successful entrepreneurs so that novice entrepreneurs can build their dream businesses. Hopefully, you will enjoy and learn along with us in this journey. Keep listening, keep learning. Vidhya is seasoned entrepreneur who is into creating global products for video analysis through Streamingo. They are not just into the basic video analytics, Streamingo supports advanced stuff like activity analysis, human object interaction, pose estimation, object detection, and multimodal video analysis. Vidya, with tons of the tech experience, is super passionate about how AI can make a real impact into the people's life. In this episode, she shares their startup journey riding the AI wave, talking about the perks and challenges of building an AI startup. Hey, welcome, dear listeners. And we are again starting this podcast new season. We are talking with the AI entrepreneurs, and that's why we have Vidya today along with us, who is the co founder of Streamingo Solution. Welcome to the podcast, Vidya.
Thanks. Thank you, Shreyas. My pleasure.
Yeah, it's really great to have you here. So, generally, nowadays, I have been seeing, especially after the ChatGPT emergence, there is a lot
Mhm.
of talk about the AI emerging into not just into the startups, but also into uh, the big enterprises are also trying to leverage the capabilities of AI into their own product sets, and everyone is rushing towards this AI. So I must say that you must started this journey a bit before this AI rush has started, and we would love to start this podcast with your own inspiring journey about how you founded this particular startups, what ideas were there behind, and how this journey has been for you.
Sure. So we started in 2015. At that time, AI was kind of getting speed, like it was gathering momentum, but it was
Mhm.
still early days. And though we had some idea about AI, but actually we started with the problem that we wanted to solve. We were looking at video as a as a medium of for education. So for example, we looked at video like you would look at a book, right? So how do you decide which book to pick up for studying, for example, right? So you would look at the table of contents, the index, and maybe a summary to decide, okay, I'm going to read this book, and you might even flip through the book, right?
Absolutely.
So we thought, how could we bring this concept to a video? How can we make the video indexed? How can we create a table of contents, break the video into chapters, create a summary of the video, so that people don't spend too much time going through the whole video and figuring out this wasn't what you really wanted to watch. So how can we save time for people? And when we started looking at this problem, we found that the best way to solve this problem was using AI, using deep learning. And a lot of people told us that this problem is hard, and this problem should be only done by large organizations, which kind of gave us the impetus to say, okay, we are going to try it. uh, you know so there was the typical entrepreneurial mindset which says, the tougher the problem, the more fun we are going to have, and we could do it. Um, so we picked up the problem, and so for that we had to look at speech recognition, we had to look at natural language processing. And this was just when the frameworks were coming out, like TensorFlow framework came out in 2015, late 15 or early 16.
Okay.
At the time when we started, there were no frameworks also, so it was so nascent. And
Right.
we did solve the problem for the problem the actual use case that we had started with. We showcased it in the Wharton Reimagine Education Awards, and there we were shortlisted in the e-learning category, actually. So Wharton Reimagine Education is considered as the Oscars of higher learning. And
Mhm.
So we thought, uh, so we were on the right track. That's what we felt.
It's like a good validation of a problem that you're trying to solve, and you're solving it in a correct way. Yeah.
Yeah. However, as we worked on this problem, and then we kind of did a pivot into more about looking at human activity inside a video. So that has been an area that we have been very much interested in, and that's the area sort of which we are, looking at how to bring the latest research into production. Yeah, yeah,
So again, this is the next part that I generally ask almost in all of my podcasts is, what are the three key problems that you feel you have faced in your entrepreneurial journey? And I would
Hmm.
like to understand from you specifically because you are into an AI segment, what three key issues that you would like to highlight and people to know about that, these are the key problems that I faced and how probably you have overcome them.
Sure. So the first problem is data. So almost all AI startups, if you ask them, what is their moat?
Right.
So most of the AI startups will say the data is their moat. Okay, because that is sort of on which the whole thing stands.
Right.
So getting good data, getting relevant data, so that is the challenge, the first challenge that you have to crack. The second challenge is around talent. So, uh, especially in India, we don't have many companies that work on action recognition. There are many companies who work on object recognition, but not many on action recognition. So we don't have that talent which is available. We also work on vision transformers, which again is a new field. So getting talent is the second challenge. The third is around funding. So
Mhm.
here again, the business models for AI itself are sort of evolving, and there is some confusion about service versus product, and so there is some kind of education that needs to happen there, and to be able to convince and to be able to get the funding.
Yeah.
That I think is the third challenge that any AI startup would face. Yeah,
Yeah.
unless you put generative in your
Yeah, I mean, if you're a data-rich company, then definitely your first challenge might be solved. But again, there also authenticity of the data and how much relevant that information is really key. Um,
yes.
yeah, that's absolutely true. And yeah, so that's the key challenges that I have also heard from some of the folks who are working in the AI companies. So moving on, we also talk about ethical AI nowadays a lot, and that has been something which is been quite talked about. So there are two pieces I would love to understand for our listeners. One thing is, how you will make sure that, you are an AI ethical company. And second thing, how you will remove the biases from your algorithms also. So if you can throw some light on that aspects, it would be really helpful.
Okay, sure. So when I think of AI, it's like, I believe this term is used with money, where you say that, it's similarly AI is a good servant but dangerous
Mhm.
master. Right? So,
True.
so that's I think what needs to happen, where you need to be in control of AI to be able to use it, and not let it uh, overrun, kind of.
Over and over.
Yeah. So, in our case, for example, the use cases that we work on, right? For example, the use cases around consumer behavior. So, where you are using video to analyze how people actions are um, happening. Um, for us, the ethical part is, where the use case gets applied, how you're going to apply. So, we are very um, cognizant of the fact that where what we are doing and how will it impact. So having having that kind of a mindset of is this ethical or not, I think that's a question that everyone who works
Right.
in AI should be asking themselves. Um, when we are talking about bias, see, the problem or the challenge with bias is it it can be hidden, in the sense that you may not even realize it.
Mm.
So the way usually we train our models, what happens is the more data you can give it, the more it will learn. Now, when you are giving it more data, what the challenge is that the more prevalent data, right, you will have more of the more prevalent data, and that if you feed it to your model starts learning that, right? So for example, you can get a lot of videos. So let's say you're doing face recognition, right? So
Right.
you can get a lot of faces for white male people,
Mm.
right, per person, but you don't have enough representation of colored women, right? So what does that mean? That means that these algorithms that you would build on using this kind of data are not really going to be very good or accurate when it comes to colored women, right? Or even ethnicity.
Right.
That representation may not be enough. So that is where you need to be careful about the bias that might be creeping into your algorithms. So what we do is we consciously, as I said, evaluate the ethical use of AI. We For biases also we evaluate, we review our data sets. We
Right.
also review the model outputs on an ongoing basis
Mm.
to find out where the model is making mistakes, or where it seems to be biased, or where does it not do so well, because maybe the representations are not there. So that's the way we try to tackle those. Yeah.
I think overall it is more or less a conscious effort that every company should take to make
Yeah.
sure that they're ethical enough while handling the data.
Yeah.
Um, that they do.
So there is, I'm just going to segue a bit here. There's a very famous story. This is from 1980s, um, when they were using deep learning models. I am not sure whether it's true or not, but it's one of the kind of legend stories. So
And
what happened is that they were trying to teach the model between, a jeep and a tank. So the defense, in this is from Pentagon, and they were trying to teach that, and they gave a lot of pictures of um, tank and the um, jeep, right?
yeah.
So the model learned it, and it was predicting very well. Okay.
Yeah.
And then on demo day it bombed. It started calling jeep tank, and it started calling
Oh.
tank jeep. So they got very confused why this was happening, and then they went back and they analyzed that all the jeep photos were taken on a sunny day, and all the tank photos were taken on a cloudy day. So the model actually, instead of identifying a jeep and a tank, it had learned to identify between a sunny day and a cloudy day. Right. So that's where also, it becomes important to understand what did the model learn? What is the model actually predicting? Because it it doesn't know this is a sunny day. You've been telling it this is a jeep, this is a jeep. So it says, okay, this is a jeep. But actually, what is the focus of the model? It's on the lighting condition or something. So yeah.
So I mean, when you were talking, I had this question in my mind. We say humans are biased. Humans have biases, and it's okay to have a bias unless you are aware of it. Because removing a bias is not possible. I think similar thing can be applied to AI algorithms. That completely removing a bias probably is not possible, as you mentioned. Which data we are feeding, based on that, the bias will be created. So, but remaining aware of what biases are being generated would be a lot helpful in that
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah.
Mm. Again, we talk about a lot of new trends, but then you are being looking at this AI horizon for quite a long time. What are new exciting trends that you see as a entrepreneur looking, very, uh, very ambitious that this will help basically take this industry to the next level. So, uh,
Um, so I personally am very excited about one development that has happened a couple of years back. It's called self-supervised learning. Um, so to do maybe a quick primer, right? So there is something called supervised learning. So what happens in supervised learning is that you take something, you label it, a human labels it, and we feed it. So for example, I take a video of someone running, I will label that it is running, and I feed that to the model, right? And we build a model which will identify the running. So you're taking the human intelligence and transferring it to the machine through the labeling. In case of unsupervised learning, what happens is that you just give the data and the model will kind of cluster it. And maybe it will find the patterns and it will cluster. Self-supervised is something like unsupervised, where you don't really tell it that this is what it is, but you get it to figure out. Okay, so I'll give it a lot of videos of people running, skipping, jumping, whatever, right? And I let it figure out that this might be jumping, this might be skipping, and all that. And then once we have these pre-trained or foundation models, what we do is we give it a less amount of data, less amount of label data, where we would say, okay, this is running. I will label some clips and I'll say this is running, or I will have some clips saying this is jumping, kind of. So then the model learns that what I had thought of this is it will start mapping, right? So this technique right now is really it's kind of a breakthrough in the sense, because we have a lot of data, and it is not possible to label the data. Like, it takes a lot of time and it's a very cumbersome activity. So having this self-supervised approach, I personally feel is something that is really going to change the landscape. um, and even in self-supervised, there was something called contrastive learning, which was like taking a difference. Then there is something called generative learning, where you actually look at generating. So there is a new approach which is called as masked auto encoders, where you mask and you get the model to regenerate that image. And they have found that even if they remove 85% of the image, it can reconstruct. So so that much of data is actually, you can remove that much data and it can still learn. So these approaches right now are like really changing the world, especially in case of video, video analysis. So I'm personally very excited about what's happening in this field. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Even for one of our presentation in the company we recently used, I was exploring some software and I think there are avatars people are using, or even you can have someone else talking on you, exactly like you're speaking out, and you're
Mm.
actually providing a script and that person is talking. So yeah, true. There
Yeah.
are a lot of things which are happening, and it's quite changing away. Even in our day-to-day life, also we have started using AI, and I think thanks to ChatGPT for that,
Yeah.
bringing it to the people actually. Um,
Yes.
True. So let's move on to the next segment where we would love to hear. So you already told about the challenges that that any entrepreneur in the AI space should take care of. Any advices that you would like to give to them that just stay away from these things or make sure that you do these things. Uh, that is something would love be really helpful to the listeners.
So, overall, entrepreneur's journey is like a roller coaster. I think a AI entrepreneur is like a multi-layer roller coaster. Um, so, I guess what is required to be an AI entrepreneur is patience, because it is still evolving. And Also, I think the competition is not as much. There are not as many um, people working in this, because it's not I mean, anyone can write a chat GPT plugin, or can do that, but that is more like an application that people are working on. So if you really want to do something core, there is a lot of scope, definitely. And I personally believe that you shouldn't leave these things to big corporations. The whole reason for startups is that they can do things faster, quicker than the big corporations can, right? So that is the focus that should be there. It will be challenging, it will be painful also sometimes, but I would say it will be worth it. So if anyone is thinking of starting this journey, um, have the patience and have the persistence, and I'm sure it will bear fruit.
Yeah. So, what is the importance of partnerships in the AI ecosystem nowadays?
Yeah, so as a startup, one of the things that happens is that if you're trying to deploy something, especially if you're doing B2B, right? When you go to enterprises, sometimes there is some resistance to work with startups. So that is where we have found that partnerships with system integrators or data analytics company,
Mhm.
that has worked for us, and that has helped us to go together and increase our reach. So I think for any startup, and especially a AI startup, I would say partnerships um, are are a good idea and a good approach.
Yeah, I think thanks a lot. So that's really wonderful. Probably before closing, would love to understand what are your goals at Streaming Solutions. You know what you are. I think I have gone through your website. I saw a few things, but would love to hear from you what goals you are looking at as a startup.
Okay, so many years ago, almost just after we started, Vinay went and put a number on the whiteboard. 1 million hours. So that was the goal he put as the number, the hours of video that we want to process.
Wow.
Um, Ideally, we would like to process all the world's videos, but we'll settle for 1 million right now. So yeah, we are working towards that goal, and that is what is driving us. Yeah. And we would like to see ourselves as the number one company in human activity recognition in videos.
Amazing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I wish you both all the best. It has been amazing learning for us.
Mhm.